Rebels and Renegades Festival with Shakey Graves. So, the first thing I want to ask you is the story behind your name.
The story behind my name. So, basically, 1,000 years ago, in I think it was like 2007, I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and there's a music festival that takes place outside of Austin called Old Settlers Music Festival. And I had started to go to that festival with my best friend growing up. And he and I used to go to like Kerrville Folk Fest and stuff. We kind of grew up as little festival rats a little bit. And so his dad was like a guitar shredder guy and would go to these festivals and do like the jam circles and stuff like that. And we would just tag along. And so we worked as the trash crew for this festival to get free tickets to it. And so we would drive around in a golf cart, and we had like, just one thing to do during the day, which was go and make all the campsites happy by picking up the trash. And then at night, I had started to work on music, and I was dying in California and really just wanted to come back to Austin for a little bit, and this was a perfect excuse. So I got picked up at the airport by my friend, and he didn't actually have a ticket for me, so he smuggled me in the trunk of his car. Like, we pulled up down just around...
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. There's a photo somewhere of them opening the trunk and me popping out of it, which is auspicious beginnings. But then once we were in there, we were kind of trapped because like not all of us had passes, and so if you went through the gates, you were kind of stuck in there. So we would do trash crew during the day, and then at night we'd wander around to the campsites and play music and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And in the festivals that have campsites, usually there's like strange hours that are kept by people due to lifestyle choices or illicit substances or just, strange sleeping patterns. And so during the day, we were all hanging out near a fire, and a fairly inebriated guy walked up and started like a long-winded conversation with us. And he wasn't making total sense, but we were just like, yeah, of course. And he's like, oh man, hibbity-dibbity, this and that. And so we kind of talked nonsense with him for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and at the end, he was holding like a big, really hot beer, that I don't think I saw him take any sips of, that he probably had for like 2 or 3 hours in his hands. And he's like, you want some whiskey? And we were like, oh, and we pretend to drink out of it. Like, wow, it's really good. He said, it's really good whiskey. It's really good. And at the end, he walked off, and he was like, you guys are good people. You're good people. What's something and watch out for those spooky wagons. And we were like, yes, sir. And then we all kind of confirmed that that's what we heard him say. And then we started talking about how Spooky Wagons would be a really good like guitar slinger name, like Speedy West or something. And so we all named each other, or came up with names, and there was one of our friends was Spooky Wagons, another one was Solomon Doors, another one was Spinster Jones, I was Shakey Graves, and then my best friend's little brother was asleep, and he got deemed Droopy Wieners because we were cooking hot dogs. And then now, I know. And since I've told that story, I've told it in like a YouTube video, and then now I've been cursed with the fact that throughout my life, at least 10 to 30 times a year, someone yells Droopy Wieners at me from like in a room just like this. We'll be like, hey, Droopy Wieners. Someone next to me will be like, what did that man yell at you? I'm like, it's a long story.
Oh my God.
Wow.
But and then so when I went around and started to play at the campsites, for that weekend, when people would ask me what my name was, I just stuck to it and started to tell people that. And then tested it out, it worked, and I said, that'll be great. That'll do just fine. Yeah.
Good story.
Great stories, yeah. So you're on tour right now.
I am. Yeah.
How's that going?
It's going great. I kind of feel like I'm always on tour a little bit. It obviously slowed down like 3 years ago, and then now it's back in the saddle. But this is the beginning of the end of my year tour, which I feel like every time I go on tour, when you see somebody's tour dates, it always is titled something. But every time like my manager or anyone's like, okay, what do you want to name this tour? I'm like, this is a different tour than 2 months ago. Like, it all kind of blends together a little bit. So this is the end of my 2023 year. This is like the last week of this tour. And then we have about a week break, and then we're doing stuff in November, and then that's kind of it for us for the rest of the year. But we put out a record about 2 weeks ago, and So we're getting to play some new stuff, and
Yeah, tell us about your new record.
our new record is called Movie of the Week, and me and my current band started making it kind of mid-lockdown, like 2021, and I had started to do some work on a soundtrack for a movie a friend of mine was making, and he wasn't paying me anything, and I got really excited and kind of went above and beyond and made this whole like intensive score and was really certain that I was doing really, really good, you know, and then turned it in, and the director was like, "Ooh, it's a little spooky," or like, you know, it's his movie, but he there was plenty of it that didn't make it in, and so I ended up taking that concept and calling a bunch of people that I know and asking them if they wanted to work on sort of a soundtrack for a fictional movie, kind of. So that's how we approached it, where we would take a melody and then, you know, like when you watch movies, there's a theme for each character, and then if they get into a suspenseful moment, there's like a more stressful version of that song or whatever. So we kept recording the songs like that. We would like find a version and then make like a surf version or a sad version or whatever. And so we yeah, exactly. And we made like movements, and then from that cut a certain amount of the songs out and compiled it into the first collection of that.
That is so cool.
Yeah, but it's a ton of recordings. We're going to keep releasing stuff from it, but it was like 3 one-week sessions, and all these guys are crazy players, so we made a lot of stuff.
What's your favorite song off of it?
Oh gosh, my favorite child?
Child.
Well, a song that I really love off of it, that I'm really proud of, is it's called Ready or Not, and I actually got to
Sierra.
Yeah, I did with Sierra, who's right behind me, and I think I forgot to ask her because I've been on tour. Yeah, I hope so. I think today she texted me earlier, was like, "Am I singing the song?" I'm like, "Yeah, I totally forgot." But it was all very coincidental. We wrote that song and then went to the studio and made a bunch of versions of it. And I had been listening to this record called Eyes That See in the Dark. It's a Kenny Rogers record.
Okay.
That has the big hit off of that is Islands in the Stream. But that whole record was written by Barry Gibb, who's one of the Bee Gees. And I got really fascinated by Barry Gibb ghostwriting other people's albums. And he's written like, I think he did a Dionne Warwick album. He did the whole thing too. And so there's a crazy version of him doing every part of Eyes That See in the Dark, including Islands in the Stream. And so hearing that, I was like, oh, it's always really interesting to be like, oh, it sounds perfectly normal as just a single person singing it, but turning it into a duet was really fun. So I was like, oh, it would be cool to have a version of this that is a kind of Islands in the Stream-esque duet. And we had gotten to tour with Sierra, and we're big fans and friends. And my friend Cam, who co-wrote the song with me, was like, oh, what if we got Sierra? And I was like, that'd be amazing. But she's, you know, a very busy person, and we're lucky to cross paths when we do. But I was just not convinced it was going to happen in an easy way. And then out of the blue, I got a phone call from her one day right when I was working on it that she was coming to Austin for like 72 hours. She's like, I just heard your song on the plane. Like, I'm coming to Austin. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And she was hanging out with our mutual friend, Nikki Lane. And, yeah. And I was like, well, can I just come and I'm just going to come and pick you up. And like, just give me like 2 hours of time. Do you want to record a song? And she's like, oh shit, yeah. And so I literally drove up like a stepdad or something to pick up the kid, and like was just like, send her out. I'm not coming in to hang out. Just send Sierra out. So she came out, hopped in my truck, and we like, I showed her the song. You know, we went and got a beer, and then she learned it in no time, and we recorded her part, and we put it out like 3 days later. And it sounds like we had planned to do that the whole time, but it was all just very coincidental.
That's awesome. We actually have that song on K-Page.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
I'm playing the heck out of it.
That's great. Well, it's very strange and magical how stuff like that sometimes comes together. And I'm sure tons of other songs have secret stories like that. But it's cool to me where I'm like, oh yeah, little do you know, that was just like a wish come true in a very short period of time. Yeah.
So what are some of your like musical influences?
Oh God, a lot. I try and remember this because I always think about it too late, you know? When someone's like, what's your favorite artist? And you're like,
what day of the week?
Weird Al Yankovic. I don't know. Like,
Good answer.
but a lot. Yeah. I mean, a lot.
a lot of ground.
It really does. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I'm a big Elliott Smith is a big, influence on me. Early Beck actually was a really big, like Beck's first record. It's called One Foot in the Grave. Had a really subliminal influence on me. Eventually, like David Bowie had a big influence on me. Towns, the kind of like Mount Rushmore of my singer-songwriter moment, like when I first started to just listen to a lot more kind of like pre-war and modern and whatever, was always like Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan and Towns and like Tom Waits, and it's probably a good 4.
Yeah.
And then, tons of other like the Spice Girls and Waylon and Willie and
Sound like our
Black
playlist.
Sabbath a little bit. Yeah. I feel like I've gone through so many phases of just like listening to just DJ Screw for a long time, and then like only listening to like speed metal, and then listening to just like only pre-war like Lead Belly and Odetta, and and I'll kind of like burn out, or like heavy synth pop music, like I want like really shiny, non-offensive bubblegum music, and then I need to hear people like everything's terrible, stuff like that.
So, what is your songwriting process?
Oh God, yeah. What is that? Usually I'll kind of catch a phrase or a notion, like, for instance, like Pacific Cafe or something, which is written on the wall next to us. It's like there's like larger premises, I guess, in which you can write sort of story songs in. Sometimes I really like to write kind of nonsensical stuff that just has a feel to it. But usually I'll start by writing music and then add lyrics over it, as opposed to the other way around. But sometimes I just write poetry out and then we'll realize it just overlays perfectly well over stuff. But right now we're not far from the like Salinas Valley, like all the John Steinbeck stuff. And that's like, yeah, that's pretty entry-level, mind-blowing masterwork stuff, but that kind of writing of a common story, because he always writes very biblically about just like a family, growing up. So that's kind of what I try and shoot for, is commonality that we all share, but maybe just kind of don't notice, kind of shining light in the corners or whatever.
Rad.
Thanks.
Well, I am so excited to see you live today.
It'll be fun, yeah.
It'll be a great show. I'm really excited about that. And I wanted to say one last thing. I loved your performance in Spy Kids 3.
Thank you. I really worked hard on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really did. That's my 1 minute and 15 seconds of glory or whatever.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Thanks.
Cool. Well, one more time, this is Shakey Graves at the Rebels and Renegades Festival. And thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah.
It was my pleasure to interview you.
Yeah,
and
thanks
to
for
meet
you.
You
did great.
So cool. So, yeah, awesome.
Good job. Perfect.
Really good.
Perfect.